Hello and welcome to day 2 of Global Railway Review's Online Industry Summit 2020. My name is Craig Waters, editor of Global Railway Review. Thank you to everyone who is joining us, whether you are watching live or watching back on demand. As many of the presentations touched on yesterday, we are of course dealing with challenging times for the industry. We've already heard from some key speakers from passenger train operating companies and also rail freight operators. Of course, a lot of discussion has taken place around COVID-19 and the challenges it has presented, but there is a clear message that comes through that yes, more still needs to be done to support passengers returning to train travel and to also support rail freight as it continues to play a key part too. You can watch yesterday's sessions back on demand. When convenient for you, you can find these links within the platform. Today, later on, we will turn focus onto high-speed rail development with some exciting projects will be discussed there, including High Speed 2 and the California High Speed Rail project. And also there is a spotlight on infrastructure managers, including Network Rail and Polish Railways, as they all continue their part in helping to transform rail. But our keynote speaker for day 2 of this online industry summit is the Executive Director of the CER, Libor Lockman. If you have any questions for Libor, please submit them in the questions panel, which you'll find on your screen, and we will have a Q&A session after his presentation. That's all from me for now. Libor, it is now over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Craig, and good morning, everybody. It's a real pleasure to be able to talk to you today at the conference. So even though only, I would say, virtual one. So I hope that you can see my slides now. So in the first place, it's really the right time to talk about what should be the future of the European Union strategy about the mobility of the European Union. And it's the really right time also for the EU, but for the UK as well, by the way, even though the UK is leaving us pretty soon. Anyways, if I say that we are the Railway Association in Brussels, community of European railway infrastructure companies, what does it mean? I mean, in the principle, we are the largest lobbying association representing the interests of the European railway companies. As you can see also on the figures, we represent more than 70% on infrastructure, 77% of freight and 93% of the passenger services. And we do so in the context of improving the regulatory framework for the railway businesses in the European Union. So our really task, our role, our mission in Brussels is to work with the policymakers, with the European Commission, with the European Parliament, and also the Council in the context of shaping the conditions, the legislative conditions right for the railway, for the businesses, for the market, for the customers. We know that the current situation is that if we touch upon any, I would say, business segment, any situation, in fact, we will never be able to forget the current crisis related to the COVID-19. But at the same time, and I'm sure that not only you are very well aware of that, but you also have got the knowledge that the railway and the rail freight especially has been significantly contributing to overcome the consequences of the crisis, especially during the lockdown of the numerous member states. In fact, almost all the member states have closed their borders for the traffic of the passengers. But fortunately, we have been able still to serve the logistics and to serve also the operation of the freight in general in the large volumes. So what we have seen was even a remarkable shift from road only to railroad operations. We have even seen that there have been shift from the customers' goods to be transported by the road, by the trucks on the roads or on the rail, which is remarkable, and we haven't experienced anything like that since the last 30 years. So we have kind of observed the remarkable revival of the single wagon load or intermodal services. But is it something that should now stop to continue, or is it something that we have also got opportunities for future? And I have to say the latter is true. And latter is true especially in the context of what the recovery from the economy needs to bring to us. You have certainly heard from the numerous representatives, the political representatives of the member states, that, yeah, we probably have to recover the economy first on the cost of the greening there's a society greening the policy, and so on and so forth. No, that will not be the right approach. If we go towards the recovery of the economy, it needs to be done in a way that will be following the green path, following what has been also promoted heavily by the European Commission as from the last year, so end of 2019. So having the chances to have the zero emission Europe as quickly as possible, and at the latest by 2050, which brings me to the commitment of the Commission President, Madame von der Leyen, who said clearly, I want Europe to strive for more, being the first climate neutral continent. It's a huge challenge. It's a challenge that should not be, as I mentioned before, it should not be somehow jeopardized by the current crisis of the COVID. In fact, the exit from the COVID crisis should help us to be even greener than ever before, even faster than ever before. So what has been done for that? The European Commission has presented already in 2019 the so-called Green Deal, having a number of components, of course, for the entire society, for the entire economy, but significantly marking also the need to develop a so-called European strategy for sustainable and smart mobility. Or you can call it also the new white paper for transport, because in fact, you know very well that in the past, more than the decades, we used to work with the white papers on transport as kind of the Commission declaration, what the transport should look like in the years to come. So the European Green Deal, of course, more than the transport only, but the transport will play an essential role in it, and especially due to the fact that it is the transport that is the biggest, one of the biggest emitters of the CO2 emissions or the greenhouse gas emissions. And on top of that, it's a transport which is recording the emissions still growing and not reducing. So how can we work with that? How can we work with the new challenges that are coming from this, from the opportunity given through and by the Green Deal? At the first place, I said that since we are working with the Commission more or less on a constant basis and in a regular way since we have been established, in fact, in 1987, what we have done was already before the European Green Deal has been put in place, we have said, yeah, look, if we wish to have the Green Deal really comprehensively addressing the opportunities coming from the green transportation, you must not forget that there is a need for integrating the rail in the right manner. So first, what we have requested was to develop an action plan for the rail freight, and the rail freight is the only in fact the only segment of the transportation which is prevailed on the land transportation to be on the side of the road. So the freight is the component that, if moved significantly on the rail side, will definitely help greening the industry in general. The second is, of course, improving the cross-border interoperability. Obviously, unlike the road, again, we have huge difficulties with circulation of the trains across the border here and there across the European Union territory. So if we wish to be providing the more efficient, more smooth services across the border, more attractive for the customers, we have to improve the cross-border interoperability. And then not of course forgetting that since we can't serve for all the last mile connections, we have to improve also the railroad connectivity. There is more to be done, and this is what we have addressed in our input to the European Green Deal already in autumn 2019. So we said that if you wish to improve something in a significant way, would be setting the conditions right for the level playing field. So please do not forget, you have Eurovignette directive right now on the agenda, on the table. You have to overhaul it significantly. You have to work in a way that the principle of the internalization of the transport externalities will apply to all the modes, So please do consider it when reviving the Eurovignette directive, but when revising it in a way that should implement those principles in a proper manner. Fortunately, as we see from the upcoming, or from the currently in place, the German presidency, they are really going that direction, and they really try to investigate on the side of the member states whether such opportunity can materialize. Furthermore, of course, what we advised the Commission to put in place was electrifying the tracks, digitalizing, of course, the railways, reducing the rail freight noise, but at the first place also maybe trying to find the instruments for the possibility to attract the private investors in the rail project. And last but not least, we definitely would wish to have even more money for the research and innovation. In that context, again, you can see the connection between Green Deal and the multi-annual financial framework being currently shaped by the Commission. I'm sure that you have observed what has happened on the side of the member states, that it took them almost 5 days to negotiate the proposal. And then the reaction of the European Parliament, who said, yeah, but you know, you should really consider that you can't make so big cuts, especially on the side of the research and innovation. So currently, there is a discussion between the Commission President von der Leyen, the Council President Michel, and also the European Parliament President Mr. Sassoli, of how to fine-tune the proposal of the Council in a way that will be satisfying the Parliament, but will, and this is essential for us, will really boost the budget for the research and innovation. We haven't stopped here. In 2019, what we said that needs to be addressed in the Green Deal. We know very well that now it's the whole smart and sustainable mobility agenda is in the hands of the Madame Vălean, the Transport Commissioner. So whilst we have been negotiating mainly with the Vice President Timmermans during the last half a year, now it's the point of the transfer of the responsibility, I said, for the mobility part to Madame Vălean, and we have prepared yet another input. They said, okay, we have a Green Deal now, but what needs to be done is to have the conditions set right in this new version of the white paper or the Green Deal. And you see also the link to our input document at the bottom of the page. What needs to be done in order to make the journey, as we said, the journey to sustainable and smart mobility right? And the only way how can it be achieved will be starting with rail. So what we do address in our input document, 4 overarching goals. At the first place, if you, the Commission, want to have the zero emission society, zero emission economy, we must have net zero greenhouse gas emissions from the transport by 2050 at the latest. And I said that the transport is only mode of the economy that is still producing the greenhouse gas emissions in a growing volumes. So we have to reverse this trend, and the transport needs to come to the point of being completely green by 2050 at the latest. And there are somehow 3 underlying components in that. I already mentioned the rail freight playing an essential role in that, because rail freight, being run mostly on electric energy, can help us to decarbonize the sector of the freight in general. So our ambition is really to come up to 30% of the market share of the rail freight on the total land transportation of cargo. The second is increasing also the portion of the modal share of the passenger services to at least 15% by 2030 and 20% by 2050. You can say, again, ambitious targets, but without them we cannot move. But the 4th principle, which is the goal that we wish to achieve, is implementing the marginal social cost pricing in all the transport policy reflections. What does it mean? We really have to implement the level playing field. We really have to implement the principle of the internalization of the external cost, and it goes hand in hand with what we call the polluter pay and user pay principles, or charging. So which targeted policy levers are to be connected with those targets, with those goals? We somehow structured it in 3 columns. The first one is the primary production factors. So not surprisingly, we talk about the capital, human resources, and energy and raw materials. What means the capital? If we address the European policymakers, obviously it's again about the budget. So it's closely linked, closely related to the current discussion about the multi-annual financial framework, because as a derivative of that multi-annual financial framework, we will see also the budget dedicated to the cohesion and connecting Euro facility. We will see also the budget related to the European structural investment funds. So those are the instruments that will help us to boost the capital needed for our operations. Human resources, we need a skilled workforce, obviously. So we are, for that reason, going to continue also in the future our participation in the social dialogue, and we will need to have a support from the Commission side for the continuation of such activity and support of the skilled workers for all the sectors, and the railway, of course, at the first place. Energy, I mean, here I have to go again to the proper pricing of the energy, not only just for the polluter and user pay principles I mentioned before for the users, but also with regards to the principles of the carbon pricing. because the carbon pricing currently is on a very low level and doesn't allow us to have the quick, fast shift to green energy sources. The secondary production factors are not surprising related to the European railway businesses as such. Infrastructure, vehicles, or the rolling stock and the technology. If you go to the infrastructure, I mentioned it already, we need to have harmonized conditions of the European network. So overcoming all the barriers, having a standard train length of 740 meters, having a standard gauge, having a standard axle load of 22.5 tons. So those are the points that, of course, do require to have a massive capital investments into the infrastructure that will also allow us to have the single set of the operating rules for all the Europe's railways. Rolling stock, it's about how to finance the rolling stock that will be harmonized, that will be operable. So what will be the opportunities related to the chances to get the funds from the European budget? So it again connects me with the Connecting Europe facility. It again connects me with the funds that should be also available throughout the cohesion money. Technology. I mean, without the technology in the future of the digitalization, we cannot work. So here, the box of the technology or the cluster of technology is much related to support that we need from all of you, and it's the support for the future of the shift to rail. So how we can have a massive opportunities and investment chances for producing the innovative technology, and how we can use the cluster of the shift to rail as a joint undertaking in future. And finally, of course, we all do it. So whether we talk about primary or secondary production factors, we do it for the market. We do it for our customers on the freight and passenger side, for our customers that are in fact the primary factor that leads us to our businesses. So what do we do for them? From the freight side, again, repeating, there is no going to be the green mobility without the rail. So what we wish to offer the customers is the last mile rail connections, the multimodal solutions, the attractive services, grouping the industries, and how we can get there. So what innovation we shall and we must deploy in order to have the customers on our side. Digital automatic coupling. I'm not going to go into the details, but this should be the revolution on the rail side, because since more than 150 years, we use in the European Union, we use only the screw couplers, which is a hugely obsolete technology. And on the other hand, we can be now the first system of the railways that will be switching to the fully digital automatic coupling that will allow us the much more advanced level of the automation of the railways. What else I can mention? I mean, the digitalization of the transport and the customs documents is obviously a part of what should be, again, the discussion, the consequences of the paperless work. And plus, of course, the ERTMS, because with the ERTMS, without the automated railway, without the higher level of the great automations, we are not going to be able to deliver anything for freight which will be attractive enough for the customers and stimulate the market share of the railways. Passengers, everyone expects the customers coming to the rail passenger railways because they will be attracted by the easy booking, by the mobility of service, by all accessible services also for the PRMs. So obviously those are the expectations we are very much aware of, and what we need to do is to promote those passenger flows, to promote the further expansion of the high-speed and the night service work trains, and also the new ticketing model. And probably the last one is something which we really have to be more than careful about it, because without the new ticketing models and a cooperation for the through tickets, we will hardly convince the customers that it's so easy to hop on the rail. What is the starting point for all that? So we are coming from the primary production targets. We are coming through the level playing field with the other transportation mode, and we are also talking about our intentions, our interests of how to innovate the rail sector. And we have a good starting point for that, because if we want to be green in the future and we want to green the whole transportation and not just the railway, we can already say, yeah, but you know what, for the railway, we are already green today, and because the rail externalities are among the lowest. And it's not something that we have been somehow collecting by ourselves as the railways, but it comes even from the European Commission study. So I would suggest, you read that, because in all the future negotiations, whether coming from the Green Deal or whether coming from the future of the smart and sustainable mobility, what will be essential is how to correct the principle of the marginal social price, and the cost, and how we can really implement it across all the modes. And with regards to the coverage of those additional charges, especially coming from the variable costs or the external pollutants, as you may wish to call them, railway is definitely more than covering already all those costs. And as you can see on the picture on the chart on the right side, so we are well on the track. The other modes needs to be still put on the track, but if you combine everything, if you combine it with the innovation, if you combine it with more attractive services for the customers and investments into the rail, we will definitely be there where we wish to be if we work all together. If we work together with the European Commission, who has to still to set more ambitious detailed plans how to make the Europe as a champion for sustainability. And they wish to get there. So let's ask to help them, and let us to make the railway support to the agenda in a full strength, and for the sustainability credentials that are, as I said, already in place, and that we all need to boost in the future. So that will be from my side. I will be more than happy to answer any questions you may have. And again, I suggest for any further details, I would like to rely on the website of the CR, where you can see the further documents related both to the Green Deal as well as the Smarter Sustainable Mobility Strategy. The Commission is expected to deliver by the strategy by the end of this year, and we are, as I said, at a constant discussion with the Vice President Timmermans as well as the Commissioner, Transport Commissioner Vălean. So thank you very much for the attention for the time being. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Libor. A great insight there. Yes, we've got a couple of minutes to spare, so we can run through some questions. Let's take a look at a couple here. I think a good one to start on, you mentioned about technical support for the industry. Perhaps you could share what you think, or what technology you think, and do you consider to be a real game changer in RAU's journey for sustainable and smart mobility? Is it things like virtual reality, artificial intelligence, 5G perhaps? What do you think? Sorry, Libor, you're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, sorry about that.
That's okay.
No, I mean, what is essential for any innovation where we have to perform, is to innovate for the more efficiency of the rail sector, because only when we are more efficient, then we can be also more price attractive for the final customer. So what drives the efficiency is clearly a digitalization and automation. So if you ask me what should be the major drivers in the future of the innovation, it's the automation. So I would not stop at the ERTMS only. We really have to automate to a minimum of the grade of automation 2, but better 3 or 4. We have to make the fully automated services also for the rail freight. For that reason, I have mentioned already this digital automatic coupler, because only then we can say that we can be price competitive vis-a-vis the road sector or the aviation. So it's automation, automation, automation.
Excellent. And what about, just quickly about the RAU's workforce? You mentioned we need to upskill employment and employees. Are we prepared for future challenges around employment within the industry?
I mean, that's an interesting question, because in fact, in our social dialogue with the Transport Union Federation, this is what we have on the agenda since years already. So how to prepare the agenda for reskilling the workforce towards the implementation, again, of the automation and digitalization. So obviously, we cannot work with the current, let's say, shape of the skills of the workforce as we have today. But in the future, we will need even the massively skilled the workforce in order to be able to implement and to deploy all the new technologies. And we are working on that, and we are working, which is really crucial, working on that together with our social partners. And we are working on that also with the support of the Commission, so that we are in fact part of the social trialogue, you can say, on the European level.
Excellent, good. And just briefly, just to summarise, perhaps just some last comments from you about what the future of RAL looked like. What do you hope to see in the future, Libor?
If you allow me, I would still connect this current situation of the COVID, where I said that we've performed well because we've been able to serve the society and economy, especially transporting the goods. What I would wish to have as quickly as we can is the recovery of the services, so that having then the pre-crisis level, and then step by step really coming to the target that I have also shown. So 30% of the market share of the rail freight by 2030, and 15% of the market share by the same time on the side of the passenger services. So these are really the massive challenges that are ahead of us. But if we don't do that, I'm afraid that we will slowly lose the ground. So let's hope that we can all work together for those targets, for those challenges. And I said that I only have to underline, let's work together. We cannot park ourselves and wait that the job will be done by anyone else for us.
Of course, excellent, thank you. Well, sadly, that is all the time we have for today. Libor, thank you so much for your time and your presentation and your answers there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.